G'day and welcome to another YouTube lesson. Today we're taking a look at the establishment options for a young entrepreneur or for an entrepreneur wishing to start up a business. Now there are three main establishment options. Each have their pros and their cons, their advantages and disadvantages. Those three options include starting up a new business, setting up or purchasing an existing older business, or purchasing and buying into a franchise. So those three particular options, as I said beforehand, are good and bad. They have their merits. None are necessarily better than the other. Depends on what you're wanting as an entrepreneur from a new business venture. All right, a new business. What does this refer to? What's this option when establishing a business about? This refers to starting up a brand new business instead of the other two options of buying already existing businesses or buying into a franchise like McDonald's or Subway. Now, why would you want to buy a brand new business and set up your own new business as opposed to the other two options? What are the advantages? What are the benefits of doing such a thing? Some of those advantages include the owner has the freedom to set up the business exactly as they wish. Makes perfect sense. If you're purchasing an existing business or a franchise, there's already staff there, there's already things set in place, procedures and so on, and you don't get the benefit to set it up exactly as you would like. Another advantage of setting up a new business, the owner is able to determine the pace of growth and change. Very important thing that a new business owner would like. Another benefit, if funds are limited, it is possible to begin on a smaller scale. When you purchase an existing business or a franchise, you're kind of locked in. You have to have a certain amount of cashola or of coin. But when you start up a new business, I guess you need a minimum amount, but things tend to be cheaper. Buying the brand name of a franchise or purchasing an existing business can be far more expensive. And this ties into the last advantage. There's no goodwill for which the owner has to pay for. Goodwill is the brand, the reputation. When you purchase a new business, then nobody knows about that business. Therefore, that's a disadvantage, I guess. There's no reputation, but you're not having to pay for that. Whereas an existing business owner selling a business to you would expect you to pay for it. That would therefore be a disadvantage. Now, it's not all good. It's not all great purchasing or setting up your own new business. Sure, there's some advantages. What are some of the disadvantages? I think this particular dot point about establishment options is a really good discuss question. Look at the fors and or against, and something you might see in your yearly exam. Now, the pros we've done. Disadvantages of a new business include there's a high risk and a measure of uncertainty. Without a previous business reputation, it may prove difficult to actually get a loan from a lender, from a bank, because there is no incoming sales. There's no reputation. Lenders are less likely to lend to you compared to existing, if you're to purchase an existing business or a franchise. Look, another downside is that time is needed to develop a customer base, to employ staff and develop lines of credit from suppliers, even set up all your supply chain. Whereas if you were to buy into an existing business, most, if not all of those features are already done for you. So it's going to take a while setting up a new business to break even, to be able to start to make a profit. If the startup period is slow, then the businesses will say may not actually generate any money for some time. All right. So again, recap, a new business is one that you set up for yourself. And there's certainly a range of advantages, but some of those disadvantages too. The second option is to purchase an existing business. What's that? This refers to buying an existing business off another business owner. Now, like a new business, there's the pros and the cons, the advantages and disadvantages. Some of these advantages of an existing business include sales to existing customers will generate instant income. So if I'm to buy a tuition center, and it's already been there for 5 years, there's already existing clients, customers. Money automatically is coming in. You don't get that with a new business. Another advantage is a good business history increases the likelihood of business success. If this business has been around for 10 years, and from previous lessons, close to 75% of businesses fail in the first 5 years, small to medium ones anyhow. It's been around for 10 years, it's likely to be able to continue for some time. What the stats don't tend to show is that, yeah, you're likely to fail in the first 5 years. If you can make 6, 7, 8 years, you've got a decent chance of being able to survive in the longer term. So proven track record is a good thing for a business. In terms of a proven track record also, it's much easier to be able to gain finance, that's get a loan to further grow your business, because you've got the history there of income and profits that you're making. That's the stuff banks want to see. Your banks, your suppliers of your fund would like to see. Now, in terms of another advantage of an existing business, the seller may offer advice and training, and that can be part of the negotiation. So it can be very, very beneficial to purchase a business that's around, because generally part of the selling of the business involves a handover, a changeover period, and that helps you get your feet on the ground. All right, another benefit, advantage of an existing business over the other methods, equipment is available for immediate use. You don't have to go and purchase the capital, the machines, and so on. It's there, generally, ready to go. One final advantage is existing employees can provide valuable assistance. So with an established business, generally there's a number of employees already there, and as such, they know what they're doing, and they can provide you with assistance and help even once the old owners have long since left the business. But it's not all roses, there's not all advantages. There's obviously some disadvantages of purchasing an older business, one that's already been around for some time, an existing business. Some of those include the existing image and policies of the business may be difficult to change and to shake off, especially if it's got a poor reputation. If it's got great policies and procedures, that's a good thing. That's a plus, that's a strength for the business. But if it's got a poor reputation, sometimes it can be difficult to overcome that and to shake that off. So that can be a disadvantage, whereas with a new business, you won't have to worry about it. Another disadvantage, the success of the business may have been due to the previous owner's personality and contacts. So this may be lost when the business is sold. Yeah, if you've got an owner, and depending on the industry you're in, people may have gone to that pizza shop. They may have gone to, whatever it may well be, to that tuition center, because they liked the actual owners and they enjoyed the service that went along with those owners. Once they've gone, you might be great, but that could also be an issue as well. Now, another problem of purchasing an existing business, it may be difficult to assess the value of goodwill, which is like the branding and the reputation, with the likelihood that the newcomer will pay more than it's actually worth. In terms of branding, goodwill, reputation, that's all positives, all very good things. But how much is that worth? You've got a hamburger shop that you purchased from the local hamburger owner. It's been around for 10 years, it's making a profit. How much is that intangible worth on your balance sheet? 100,000? 500,000? 2 mil? Who knows? You might get lucky, you might pay little for it, and it's really worth a lot, but that may not be the case. So that can be a disadvantage. You're paying for that branding, you're paying for that goodwill, and it may not be worth it. One final disadvantage of an existing business is some employees may resent any change to the business operation. Well, let's be honest, when you purchase an existing business of somebody, you're happy to do things to a degree the way that it was done, but you want to put your own mark on that business. And if you've had long-term employees who've worked for the other owner, they may not be happy with change. What's that term called when people don't like change? So if you can remember, starts with I. Inertia. And it's a human nature. It's basic human physiology that they don't like change generally. So there can be some of that resistance to change. You don't get that when you're starting up afresh. You're in charge and you are the one that will set in place what will happen. So that's another disadvantage. Almost there. The last different option when establishing a business is to have a franchise. And look, there's very good things about this, but it can be expensive. There's some downsides as well. Some of those advantages, those pros for setting up a franchise. Again, if you're not quite sure what a franchise is, this refers to buying into a franchise business such as McDonald's or Subway instead of starting up your own business or buying a business directly from someone else. Now with a franchise, you have the franchisor, that's say McDonald's Australia. They own the rights and the names of the business, and the franchisee, they are the owner of the individual store. You can't go it alone. You have to, depending on the contract you sign, you have to pay a big upfront cost for the privilege, the right of using their name, and also a percentage of your profits always will be sent back to the main McDonald's Australia or whoever it may well be. So that's the downside big time. There are some advantages we'll look at now. One of the main advantages is the franchisor often provides training. Now, a franchisor is that McDonald's Australia. So you don't have to know anything about how to make a burger. If you are a franchisee and you buy into McDonald's, they will show you how to do all that stuff, which is another of the advantages. You don't need experience in that industry. You will be trained over a long period of time and shown how to do these things. You don't get that with a new, and you get a very brief training, if at all, with an existing business. Another advantage of a franchise over the other two, the risk or the investment risk may be lower. Maybe, but because everyone knows McDonald's, people know these famous names like Jim's Mowing and so on. They know about them. They're likely to be more successful. So the investment risk may be lower. Now another advantage is there is immediate benefit from the franchisor's goodwill, because it has a reputation and it's got good branding, good market share. There's that immediate return on investment. Another benefit of a franchise, their well-planned advertising generally is there. It's often paid for by the franchisor at McDonald's Australia, although you will be charged fees and billed accordingly. One of or some of the disadvantages, the downsides to purchasing a franchise over the other two options include the franchisor controls the operations. You get far less control than any of the other ones. So if you want to create your own burgers, if you want to be able to have your own flair, your own way about doing things, franchise is not the way to go. Now, another disadvantage, profits don't go to you directly. They've got to be shared with you, the franchisee, the owner of the individual shop, and also the franchisor, that McDonald's Australia. And that happens after a year, after 10 years, for the lifetime of the franchise. You're constantly paying a percentage of your profits to them. That doesn't happen with the other two. Another disadvantage, the franchisor, McDonald's Australia, often charges a service fee for advice. So whenever you're asking for help, they'll bill you again. Another downside, the franchisee, that's the individual store owner, is often required to purchase stock from the franchisor. So they can't source get the buns cheaper if it's a McDonald's franchisee store. They have to get it from that franchisor. And the franchisor is not going to do it cheap. They will, provide it, but not because they're nice people. It's a business and they make money out of that as well. Now, another disadvantage, the franchisee may merely feel like an employee but without the benefits and security. And that's the problem. I've known some people who have purchased into franchise businesses. I've even recommended against it with one of my mates because they can be good, but it's often just a way for the franchise or business, that McDonald's Australia, the main business, to kind of make money. And you're like a worker without having any benefit that's there. And you tend to not make much of a profit. To be frank, you'd be better off just working in a Macca's half the time than to actually own them as a franchisee. All right, guys, thank you for listening. And hopefully you've got a greater understanding about which of those 3 establishment options would be good to have. They're all got their pros and cons, and it depends on the situation. But a quick recap, you have the new, the established, and the franchise option. Thanks. See you next time.